Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto Changed, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. While Team Jiraiya was busy facing the apparent leader of the organization, the other teams were busy dealing with the weaker, but nonetheless dangerous foes of Akatsuki. Team Gaara faced both Hiden and Kakazu while Team Darui faced Deodara and Kisame. Both battles raged on, as neither side showed any signs of overcoming the other, despite the fact that both teams had one Jinchuriki who had the power to overcome any adversary. S-ranked shinobi had the tendency to overcome any sort of adversities. Team Darui. Team Darui, composed of Maito Gai, Kiribi and Baki, started the fight with a misplaced underestimation of the enemy, knowing that not only they possessed the advantage in terms of numbers. The team had the Hachibi Jinchuriki with them. Kiribi was a perfect Jinchuriki as he was able to synchronize his chakra with the Bayu inside him, granting him full ability over the Hachibi. However, the team soon realized that Akatsuki did not just choose their members based on their S-rank status alone, but also because of their specific set of skills that allowed for an easier capture of their targets. Deodara's specific skill set allowed him to attack from longer distances, and Kisame possessed his Samehada, a special sword made in Kirigakure that allowed him to absorb chakra and use it on himself. As such, the two S-ranked Akatsuki members managed to separate Team Darui, with Kisame facing both Kiribi and Gai at the same time while Deodara took on Darui and Baki. Baki, however, was the first casualty of the group. The Sunagakure elite Junin was a skilled shinobi with extreme mastery over the wind element. However, his mastery involved fighting from mid to close range. At first, Baki and Darui used the combined assault on Deodara, forcing him on the defensive from the start. Baki even managed to S one of Deodara's hands using his wind sword combo. However, the minute Baki moved to end the entire fight and go help against Kisame, he had simply believed Deodara to be finished without one of his clay-making hands. Baki had moved to decapitate Deodara, but the Mad Bomber suddenly embraced the Suna Junin with both his arm and legs, before blowing himself up, taking a surprised Baki with him. The movement alone surprised the team leader. The movement was so sudden, taking no longer than 2 seconds. The situation only worsened when Darui saw Deodara emerge from the ground with a predatory smirk on his face and, worst of all, with both hands intact. The truth of what happened hit Darui like a ton of bricks. "You used a bunshin, didn't you?" He saw the pure condescending look from the enemy and narrowed his eyes at Deodara. No doubt, the Mad Bomber's status was well deserved. "It's only a matter of time until you join your little buddy, hum." Darui charged the Mad Bomber immediately with a barrage of shuriken and kunai, not allowing Deodara to make his retreat. As soon as Darui stood inches from Deodara, he unsheathed his butcher-like sword and swung at Deodara. The Mad Bomber performed a backflip while at the same time producing a ball of clay and leaving it for Darui. The ball exploded immediately, but he could not see a body. He was hoping that his little art show would be enough to deal with his enemies. Following his instincts, Deodara turned to the left as he saw Darui running through hand seals, before gathering water inside his lungs. Suten Suijin Heki, water release. Water barrier technique. Deodara was hit full force by the technique and became suspended in the air by Daru's technique. Following on his attack, Darui used a single one-handed seal and created a strong lightning current. Being amplified by the flowing water, Deodara was hit full force by the combination ninjutsu. Deodara made a clear look of discomfort and even pain for a while, before smirking at the enemy as his body transformed into mud, revealing it a mud bunshin instead. Darui extended his senses looking for the enemy. Deodara so far has proven to be quite a fearsome enemy, at long range and dangerous in close range as well. The Mad Bomber's skills were not varied, but the man has enough experience that he is able to use everything at his disposal, even when he is nowhere in sight. Darui just couldn't allow himself to lose his cool and act rash. It took one single precise blow to K an elite Junin such as Baki. Suddenly, the Raikage's right-hand man jumped, obeying nothing but his instincts. No sooner had the man jumped, a couple of clay mines erupted from the ground and exploded. In front of him, Darui saw a couple of small clay birds flying straight at him, hitting him on, much to Deodara's happiness as he appeared where Darui once stood to check on the body. The mad bomber snorted, however, when a small rock fell nearby. He smirked, however, suddenly getting the thrill of the fight. Deodara would not be pleased if his opponent went down just as easy as the Sunagakur Junin. Hidden behind a thick tree, Darui grabbed 2 shuriken, before charging them with lightning chakra. Immediately after throwing the projectiles towards Deodara, a beam of lightning emerged from one shuriken, landing onto the other, forming a lightning cable towards Deodara's back. Raiten Shuriken Raiden, lightning release, shuriken lighting cable technique. Deodara narrowed his eyes at the sudden approach from behind and managed to evade by jumping. However, the minute he did so, Darui was immediately onto him, with his lightning-infused sword promising to see Deodara in half. The mad bomber managed to produce a couple of clay bombs, but Darui s them clean, before moving to strike Deodara once more. The attack was successful, but Deodara used the small bombs as distractions while performing another bunshin for a quick escape. His opponent was good, much more so than he expected. Deodara just couldn't K the man without resorting to his stronger abilities. In addition, Darui now realized the true weakness of his clay attacks, as lightning chakra, when in contact with the exploding clay, manages to nullify its exploding effect. Taking a distance, Deodara smirked as he had found a worthy opponent to battle against. Darui, for his turn, took a much more serious approach in this fight. Against this enemy, he would have to go all out, and that meant using every skill he had at his disposal. Meanwhile, Hoshigaki Kisame was facing Maito Guy and the Hachibi Jinchuriki. So far, neither side worked on a clear advantage. Guy and Kiribi looked at the still smirking Kisame with narrowed eyes. So far, the entire fight was concentrated in close-range combat. There were some bruises on everyone's faces and a few scrapes as well. Guy was actually the one with most visible wounds, seeing as he either did not have a demon healing his wounds or a sentient sword. So far, neither Guy nor Kiribi wanted to push things to the extreme and use everything they had at the disposal. However, looking at Kisame's full-teeth smile, they realized that the shark missing Nin would not mind either way. Kisame's most notably asset was his vast chakra reserves, and he certainly did not mind waiting for his opponents to get serious. You two won't be able to beat me by playing it safe. I admit that I'm a bit outnumbered here, but that doesn't mean I am that easily beaten. For once, Guy did not have any youthful comment to throw at Kisame. Kisame didn't wait for them to make a move and immediately used a Mizu Bunshin to split his attention between his opponents. The Hachibi Jinchuriki was naturally the more worrisome of the two, so Kisame would have to deal with the man himself. The other, although an elite Junin and high-class taijutsu fighter, did not pose the same level of threat. The shark Nin then went through hand seals, before he expanded in size like an akamaki. He threw up hundreds and hundreds of liters of water. Suten Baku Sushoa, water release exploding water colliding wave technique. Both Kiribi and Guy were immediately alerted upon seeing wave after wave being formed, before they stood on top of a river. The bad news started the moment they allowed a shark to get inside his own turf. With Naruto, Pain just stood there as he looked at Conan's body. Contrary to what everyone expected, the individual did not even blink, as he appeared to grasp the consequences of what happened. Naruto and Sasuke were certainly caught by surprise. Even Jiraiya could not believe what he was seeing as he studied his first student's expression. He saw many shinobi in the past trying their best to not be affected by a comrade's death. However, everyone, damn it, even his former comrade Orochimaru, showed at least one single reaction, even if one of joy. Pain, on the other hand, did nothing at all. It was indeed unsettling to watch, especially in Jiraiya's case, since he specifically recalled how close those three were in the past. Are you not troubled by her death, Nagato? Pain this time crossed eyes with Jiraiya, but otherwise his expression remained unchanged. The look alone served as proof of Nagato's change of heart. Yahiko and Conan were his only family in this world. It matters not if I am saddened by her death. Ultimately, my vision will happen and everyone will know true pain. The Yahiko body suddenly went through a large sequence of hand seals, before both hands on the ground. Jiraiya moved to intercept, but the technique was complete, enveloping the enemy in a cloud of smoke. When the smoke settled, instead of one enemy, now stood 5 others, behind him, all of them carrying the Rinnegan. The sight startled Jiraiya, Naruto and Sasuke, as according to the Sannin, the Rinnegan Dojutsu belonged to the Sage of the Six Paths. Now, instead of one enemy, they had to face six at the same time. Ero Sennin, what's the plan here? How are we supposed to face them? Jiraiya looked at Naruto's concerned expression. The pervert had a nervous smile on his face, sharing his current student's worry. Sasuke was listening to the conversation while sucking everything his Sharingan was telling him. He could see something very interesting about his opponents. For instance, while his Sharingan could perceive the human body's natural chakra flow, he was having trouble understanding what was happening before his eyes. Normally, each person's chakra appeared differently before his accursed red eyes. These six, however, had identical chakra flows, as if they were mere clones of the original. Naruto, Sasuke, tread cautiously here. One of them was hard enough. My experience tells me that each one of them possesses unique set of skills that complement a full man assault type. Both teens nodded, before Jiraiya moved through hand seals. Kaiten Dai Enden, fire release great fireball technique. The huge ball of scorching fire charged at the enemies, but only one of them stood forward. He had the same outfit, but was shorter and chubby compared to the others. The Konoha nins stood by, waiting to see what would happen, before the new enemy did something with his both hands and absorbed the fireball, making it vanish completely. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes in worry. One of them had the ability to absorb ninjutsu. That meant that they had to get close range and engage in taijutsu against this person. That in itself was troubling, considering that the Yahiko body had gravity-related techniques and could send the opponent flying. Any sort of musing was short when another enemy, this time the one with long blonde hair, went through hand seals once more for the summoning technique. As soon as it ended, 4 huge centipedes stood facing the members of Konoha. The huge beasts charged at them, forcing the members to scatter. Naruto sprang into action immediately and summoned 3 Kage Bunshin. The 4 golden copies charged at the beasts head-on, each one going through the same hand seals. The centipedes were into pieces and vanished. Naruto took the opportunity and charged at the 6 enemies, while Jiraiya and Sasuke flanked him. The Yahiko body waited until Naruto was close to use his gravity propulsion technique, sending the Kyuubi Jinchuriki flying. Naruto managed to hold onto a large rock, using his chakra chains, but he still felt as if a train hit him in the face. When Jiraiya and Sasuke got into position, all the 6 enemies had fallen into some sort of battle position. The blonde-haired enemy this time summoned a giant rhino and multiple-headed dog. Immediately, Naruto and Jiraiya summoned some help, as both Gamahiro and Gameiken appeared to aid them. While Naruto and Jiraiya were busy dealing with the summons, Sasuke took the opportunity to sneak behind the Yahiko body and attack with his sword. How surprised was Sasuke when the enemy suddenly turned and blocked his sword with a metal rod. The man's reaction time was 100%, as if he was indeed seeing Sasuke the entire time. Pain attempted to use another Shinra Tensei on Sasuke, but Sasuke's Sharingan allowed him to move out of the way. They engaged in a fierce display of close-range fight, until the chubby enemy with the ability of absorbing ninjutsu came from behind Sasuke and held him in a vice lock. Sasuke realized in fright that the enemy was sucking his chakra. The Uchiha snarled at being caught like this, and especially by this guy. He couldn't use his ninjutsu from fear of wasting even more chakra. A golden blur was visible as Naruto attempted to land a kick on the enemy that was holding Sasuke, only for the man to avoid his kick without even seeing Naruto approaching. Sasuke took the opportunity to get out of the hold. What's the deal here? How was he able to see me coming? Naruto used the speed augmented by the fox's chakra. Sasuke was equally perplexed. The same thing happened to me. The fact that the Yahiko body was looking at the scene the entire time went unnoticed as another came at the 2 teens. This guy had a weird look on his face, but what really irked both was seeing the man's head opening, before a bunch of missiles came out of it, flying straight at them with high speeds. Sasuke stood at attention and got ready to use his sword the minute the attack came within striking distance. Naruto had other plans, however, and started spinning his bow staff on top of his head. Sasuke, stay close to me. Sasuke looked at Naruto reluctantly, before nodding. Futenbue Engai, wind release, protective dome technique. Sasuke could see with his Sharingan the wind current above Naruto forming a dome above them just as the torpedoes were close by. The projectiles got into close contact with the wind dome before changing direction and exploding on the ground, far from the fight. As the dome vanished, the members of Konoha attempted to work the information they acquired throughout the fight. So far, they knew a couple of things. Using long-range ninjutsu was next to useless, getting close was and apparently, the enemy could use summoning with the same amount of effort as a mere bunshin. The enemy appeared to be a bottomless pit of chakra. A sudden tremor alerted both Naruto and Sasuke as they turned to see the toads emerging victorious from their respective fights. Jiraiya was busy engaging the first opponent with gravity-related techniques. Naruto, I think I may have figured something out about our enemy. Naruto looked at Sasuke, urging him to go on. Look at Jiraiya's fight. Naruto did as told, but could not see anything unusual about it. Like usual, the enemy was blocking the Sannin's strikes without technically facing the attacks. However, it appeared that the others appeared to be looking at the fight as well. Sasuke nodded at Naruto's right focus and explained. I may be completely wrong here, but it seems that the reason he can dodge our strikes is because all of them are able to transmit each respective line of sight to all of them at the same time. Naruto looked at Sasuke as if the Uchiha was crazy. How much chakra did you lose to them, Sasuke? Feeling lightheaded or something? Sasuke grunted at his partner's response. I'm speaking the truth, you imbecile. Follow my lead and attack one of them, I'll attack the other. Sasuke said, before vanishing straight towards the enemy with the ability of summoning animals. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but followed Sasuke's plan, attacking the one with the ability of absorbing ninjutsu. Meanwhile, Jiraiya was still busy engaging in a fierce taijutsu fight against the enemy with the gravity-related techniques, dodging the attacks as well. Sasuke unleashed a giant fireball at his target, while Naruto sent a giant water dragon at his own. Even if Naruto's target had the ability of absorbing ninjutsu, if Sasuke's crazier theory came true, then Jiraiya would be able to land a hit on his enemy. As expected, Sasuke's target dodged the attack and Naruto's target absorbed chakra behind the water dragon. However, in doing so, both enemies' eyes turned away from the one known as Deva Path. The effects was instantaneous as Jiraiya evaded Deva's Shinra Tensei, before flipping from behind and scoring a nice reverse kick. Jiraiya was surprised as hell, before he decided to regroup with his charges. What happened here? How did I manage to hit him all of a sudden? Jiraiya looked at Sasuke who explained his theory. In the end, the perverted Sannin looked at Deva Path. It appears that you just unraveled the visual advantage given by the Rinnegan, Sasuke. From the three great dojutsu, the Byakugan allows the user to see through walls, the enemy's chakra points and even long distances. The Sharingan allows the user to copy all three forms of ninja arts and even anticipate the enemy's movements. The Rinnegan, then, allow the user to take full control of the battlefield, covering all the possible angles. Very observant, indeed. Sasuke nodded. Jiraiya's discomfort did not vanish, however. The only way we can win this is by taking them one by one. Sad part is that two of them are yet to make a move, so we don't know squat about them. Let us focus on K, the one able of summoning and the one who fired the strange mechanical projectile. Let us prepare a coordinated assault. Jiraiya came up with a quick plan, just as the animal path summoned another rhino and another dog. All three Konoha shinobi moved at the same time, with Jiraiya's plan in mind. Naruto summoned a cage bunshin and charged at the animals, while forming a giant Rasengan. Jiraiya rushed at the animal path with Sasuke flanking him, before the pervert Sannin went through quick hand seals. Sasuke just kept moving, with one hand grabbing his sword. Deva Path unleashed his Shinra Tensei at Jiraiya, who finished his hand seal sequence in time and placed both hands on the ground. Doton Doryu Juheiki, Earth Release, Earth-style rampart technique. The gravity attack met its resistance by the large earthen wall that just emerged from the ground, separating the five paths from the animal path. Sasuke by this time had Shunshin behind the animal path and swiftly decapitated animal path, before going through hand seals to unleash a powerful Kaiten ninjutsu. The animal path was reduced to dust before the earthen wall came down, revealing the trio's strategy. The Deva Path looked at his opponents, while visualizing their pattern in his mind. With animal path gone, using the summoning beasts wouldn't be possible. Looking at Sasuke, Deva Path extended his hand, mumbling the name of the ability. Bansho Tenon. All of a sudden, Sasuke's body started flying towards Pain at top speed. He was unable to make a single move in retaliation because of the speed he was flying. Deva Path was already waiting for him with a metal rod aimed directly to his heart. Sasuke narrowed his Sharingan eyes in alarm, as he watched the scene of his death play in front of him in slow motion. He just couldn't find within his arsenal anything to stop him. He couldn't form hand seals, because of the speed he was flying, and it would take too long to use a suitable ninjutsu. He had dropped his sword when his body lifted the ground with tremendous force. Amaterasu would be the only choice, but it would not do him any good against his impending fate. His body began to tremble at the prospect of Essa prematurely, before he was able to reform his clan. The noise of metal drawing be echoed in the clearance, and Jiraiya's eyes widened in surprise at what he saw. With Darui, the elite Kumo Junin cursed his opponent as he dodged yet another clay bird coming his way. Darui never enjoyed fighting long-range specialists, and here he was perhaps facing the most dangerous one. If even a single bird landed on him, his life was forfeit. The dark-skinned shinobi wondered if there was ever an end to Deodara's clay storage. He saw that every time his opponent formed his explosives, he would stuck his hands inside two holsters strapped on his waist. Deodara, so far, has kept enough distance to make most of Daru's attacks useless. His only hope was to charge at the man while at the same time dodging his explosives and also going through a hand seal sequence. Gathering such resolve, but not after complaining how dull the situation was, Darui ran straight towards a straight path as he focused on the still airborne enemy. Deodara didn't disappoint and threw another batch of clay birds at him. Darui dodged the first and the second, but had to use a quick shunshin to evade the third and the fourth from exploding himself into pieces. His eyes never left Deodara as he ran. As soon as he spotted Deodara going for his clay repertoire, Darui threw a couple of lightning shuriken at the opponent, forcing Deodara to fly out of the way. The few seconds were enough for Darui to stop at a suitable distance from the Akatsuki member and get into a strange ninjutsu position. He separated his feet, the right one in front, and joined his hands together, lacing his fingers together. A bright blue energy surrounded his hands, before a great number of beams exploded towards the shocked Deodara. Rantan Razar Sarkasu, Storm Element, Laser Circus Technique. The bird in which Deodara was standing on exploded upon contact with one of the beams, and the rest bombarded Deodara, who couldn't escape being in free fall. The beams L his entire body, delivering a ruthless K blow to the long-range S-rank missing Nin. Darui saw the limp body falling a few meters from his position and frowned in suspicion. He appeared close to the body and cursed as he saw nothing but clay on the ground. Suddenly, a claw came from the ground and grabbed Daru's leg, shocking the elite Junin. Deodara soon emerged from behind some trees as the field where Darui stood was now filled with clay mines. You were much tougher than I thought, but it ends here, Darui looked at the man, and his sinister looking filled with certainty that Darui would not be able to escape. Any last words? Oh, I could think of a few. Darui went through quick series of hand seals. Raiten Kangekiha, lightning release, inspiration wave technique. Darui was suddenly enveloped by a wave of lightning energy that spread toward his legs and feet, heading towards the clay mines below ground. Deodara attempted to blow them up, using the specific hand seal, but frowned when nothing happened. Deodara didn't even get to curse the lightning user for ruining his art as Darui drew his butcher sword and threatened to S him to pieces. Quickly evading the S, Deodara produced a small clay bomb, before creating a distance. Darui quickly focused lightning chakra through his sword and S the clay bomb in two. Darui now allowed himself to smile, knowing that he now had an advantage over this damn clay bombs. He had a theory that the clay were earth chakra oriented, which meant that his lightning chakra would be able to nullify its effects. Deodara, for his part, snarled at the Kumo Junin. Don't you think that you've won this battle, Kumo Nin? My art won't be extinguished that easily. Deodara screamed, before gathering a bunch of clay and forming a dragon made of clay. Let us see how you deal with my Kibaku Nendo C2 Doragon, exploding clay C2 dragon technique. Darui looked at the size of the clay dragon and flinched at the possible blast radius caused by such an animal. He saw the dragon opening his mouth, and inside appeared a smaller creature, looking the same as the big one. The small dragon flew at Deodara with amazing speed. Darui quickly went through hand seals, before exhaling a column of water. The surgeon heki wouldn't be enough to stop the clay dragon however. As soon as the dragon was stopped by the water, Deodara activated his seal, forcing the creature to explode. Darui jumped away instantly, but some of the fire from the explosion caught up. Darui looked up once more, as his body was covered with minor burn marks. His strategy worked barely and it consumed the chakra he was saving throughout the battle. He didn't know how many Deodara could throw at him and quite frankly, he needed to think of something quickly. Looking at the creature, Darui cursed as he saw another dragon leaving the mother dragon's mouth. He could see his storm release technique, but it would cost him a lot of chakra. Darui grabbed a couple of smoke bombs from his holster and threw them on the ground as soon as the dragon initiated his flight, surprising Deodara. The explosion rocked the ground Darui was before, but Deodara was already preparing his exit strategy, in case the sneaky Kumo Nin managed to attack him. As he expected, an attack came but not directed at him. Daru's sword came spinning straight at the mother dragon's head. The Akatsuki member didn't move in time to dodge, being forced to use another of his small dragon bombs to stop the sword. The sword managed to the small dragon in two, but the lightning energy stopped coursing through the sword, thus showing no danger to Deodara. Deodara overlooked the field, but he couldn't see his enemy. Darui, for his part, managed to find a hidden bush where he could observe the enemy. He was able to spot a major difference in the dragon's tail size since it was formed. The tail had the form of multiple clay balls perfectly lined up. At the start, Darui saw 5 clay balls and now the dragon had only 2. Deodara used 3 small dragon bombs, so that means that the mother dragon has 2 more shots. The downside, however, is that Darui didn't know what would happen when all 5 shots were fired. Could he use the mother dragon afterward and cause one big explosion, or could he use the clay for something even more powerful? The possible outcomes of this battle were quite dangerous and Daru's chakra supply wasn't replenishing itself like the man expected it to be, and he knew the reason for this. Never in his life had he used so many ninjutsu techniques, except one time when he was training under the Sandaime Reikage. At the time, Darui remembered almost passing out from exhaustion. His chakra capacity was average for a Junin, after all. Darui would have to resort to some trickery in order to pose enough threat for Deodara to use his entire ammo of dragons. At least this way, he could salvage a bit of chakra. Genjutsu was not his forte. His comrade Shi was the illusion master. However, his partner in crime had taught him a simple illusion that he could use against Deodara. Deodara was screaming for the man to come out of hiding, before his eyes caught on a blur to his left. He saw Darui throwing him a bunch of shuriken and kunai. Certainly it didn't pose the same level of threat as before. Making no effort to evade, Deodara used another of his small dragon bullets and threw it where Darui stood. He smirked sadistically when the dragon bomb hit the target, followed by an explosion. His laughter was short as he saw another blur coming out from the smoke generated by the blast, this time going through a sequence of hand seals. Driven by fury upon seeing how much this man was making fun of his art, Deodara used the last missile faster, so that Darui couldn't use his troublesome lighting ninjutsu. Once more, the last dragon hit the target, causing another explosion. When the smoke cleared, however, there was no body to be seen. When something blocked the sun from behind, Deodara turned too late to see a giant black panther charging at him. Raiten Kuropanzer, lightning release. Black Panther technique. The technique hit Deodara head-on as numerous arcs of lightning worked its magic. The lightning energy immediately nullified the mother dragon, disputing its blast power. Deodara, however, had other concerns at the moment, trying his best to stay alive while thousands of volts fried his organs. However, soon it became too much for him to withstand. His eyes had lost its color and his loose body fell on the ground. Darui was panting for breath. His eyes were almost losing cohesion as he struggled to even breathe properly. The man was sure that his entire chakra capacity was gone as he took a seat on the ground. The burn marks caused by Deodara's attack ached all over the place and he couldn't move his arms without feeling immeasurable pain. The Kumo Nin looked at the downed enemy and smiled, before closing his eyes as well. If the man wasn't then chances were that Darui wouldn't be waking up anymore. The only obstacle that kept him from simply closing his eyes was that he had to secure Baki's corpse. With Guy, Despite knowing that the opponent was a Mizu Bunshin, Guy felt hard-pressed to keep up with the unyouthful sword that would absorb his chakra. The man was comfort in the knowledge that he barely used his chakra for most of his attacks. Guy used his extreme taijutsu ability against the Mizu Bunshin, but Kisum had extensive knowledge and prowess in the battlefield, so naturally his clone inherited said knowledge. Kisum's clone managed to compensate the lack of speed by positioning the sentient sword in front of Guy's attacks. Meanwhile, Kiribi was having his own share of trouble as he faced the original Shark Ninja. For once, the Hachibi Jinchuriki wasn't fixated on his regular rapping way of conversation. Kiribi was battling with two of his swords, but he could see it was not enough against this guy. Kisum had the territory advantage, thus his speed surpassed Kiribi's. Throwing all 8 swords to the air, surprising Kisum, Kiribi got into his Kenjutsu battle position and attacked the surprised Kisum. The Akatsuki member has never seen anyone in his entire life able to wield as many swords as the Hachibi Jinchuriki. At first, he figured that the man would not be as proficient, but that thought was gone the moment he saw, or at least tried to see, the intricate dance that soon followed. Samehada received a lot of punishment from Kiribi's unrelenting assault, but still could not form a suitable defense against the O. Kisum flinched as he felt the deep pain caused by multiple sword wounds. He needed to stop this immediately and did so by going through quick 3-hand seals. Suten Suijin Heki, water release. Water wall technique. Beneath the struggle, a small water typhoon soon emerged separating Kiribi from Kisum. The Hachibi Jinchuriki wasn't deterred, however, and waited for the defense to drop before he continued. Kisum just couldn't keep the man from attacking up to the point that he received a deep S on the sea that sent him skidding on top of the water. Kiribi, smirk soon vanished, however, when he saw Samehada connect its body to its wielder, closing the wound in seconds. Never would I have believed a chakra powerhouse like him would dedicate his energy into sword fighting. Kisum indeed was enjoying the fight immensely, though. After the sword healed the mater, Kisum got up and cleaned some bee from his mouth. Kiribi got into his own rapping pose, before the chakra cloak enveloped his body and 8 tails appeared behind him. Kiribi charged with extreme speeds and Kisum met him halfway, Samehada on Kiribi's side, lifting his body up in the air. When Kiribi landed on the ground, he realized that he had only 2 tails worth of power. Looking at the sword, it had changed dramatically. It was no longer covered by bandages and it was filled with dark blue spikes. The tip of the sword now resembled a big mouth filled with sharp teeth and a giant tongue came out of it, drooling like a puppy. Samehada really enjoys the taste of your chakra, Hachibi Jinchuriki. I for one appreciate for the extra juice. Be careful of this guy, B. That sword of his managed to nullity your first transformation. Inside of B's mind, Jinchuriki and Bayu were having their talk. So it seems. Enter-tailed beast, B. No way full, you're full. An attack with you would be way too huge and would destroy the area, better do that as last resort. So what will you do? Fight in version 2 state. Oh yeah? Except most of my chakra got taken away during that last exchange, so lend me yours. B even got into his dancing spunk, before he felt the sudden spike of chakra. On the outside, Kisum kept smiling as he saw Kiribi attempt the same thing over again, but now he felt something different. The chakra tails suddenly embraced Kiribi, before he was transformed into a bull-like creature with 8 tails. The amount of chakra was enough to create light tremors as the beast kept his eyes on the enemy. Over Kiribi's shoulder, bones started to appear, taking the shape of a bull head skull. Samehada was practically trembling in excitement, much to Kisum's amusement. Samehada is giddy in excitement, the chakra earlier is nothing compared to this volume and quality. I'm amazed he can control this much chakra without losing his mind. Kiribi charged with extreme force and speed, a piece of the ground off. Samehada just wasn't able to absorb that much energy and as a result, Kisum got hit full force, being sent flying with a big hole on his torso, exposing his ribs. Despite it all, the Akatsuki member kept smiling as the sword once more came to his rescue, giving him all the energy it acquired from the Jinchuriki previously. Because of the energy, the wound was entirely closed as Kisum got up, exposing his clean skin. The stronger the opponent is, the stronger I become. I do not tire, I do not fall. That's why I'm called the tailless-tailed beast. Kisum said, before focusing on a single hand seal. Suten Daibaku Sushoa, water release. Super exploding water shockwave technique. With Naruto, as a seasoned shinobi, Jiraiya bore witness to a great many impressive events in his life. When he was but a kid, barely 6 years old at that, he had found a secret passage that led him into the Senju compound. When he got out of the passageway, he saw a fight between the Shodaime Hokage and the Nadaime Hokage. It was nothing short of amazing at the time, as the Shodaime's Mokuton battled fiercely against the Nadaime's water mastery techniques. This show ended up inspiring him into becoming a shinobi. When he was a genin, he saw his sensei, the Sandaime Hokage, battling alone against an entire army of Iwa-junin, without working up a sweat. Later, as a Sannin, Jiraiya saw the results of the Yondaime's Hiraishin no Jutsu. The 4 previous Hokage were legends on their own. To this day, Jiraiya figured that no one would be able to replicate even a third of what the previous Kages were able. What he saw today, however, went against his entire expectations as he saw Sasuke on the verge of losing his life to pain, before a yellow flash crossed the entire field in less than a second. Sasuke's body was inches from the metal rod when Naruto appeared and caught him, changing the path of Sasuke's body. The metal rod instead scratched Sasuke's arm badly, but nothing more. When Naruto got up from the ground, all Jiraiya could see was the Yondaime Hokage. Naruto turned to look at the enemy and summoned his bow staff. Within seconds, the staff was glowing white, showing how much wind chakra Naruto was pouring into the weapon. His first target was the Asura path, as he summoned his chakra chains to aid him in battle. Despite the speed, the enemy's visual prowess allowed the Asura path from suffering the worst possible blows. Still, Naruto was relentless and eventually managed to strike the opponent's shoulder with such force, that the enemy was sprawled on the ground, reduced to scrap. Naruto was about to attack the one named Naraka path, a foe with orange spike hair and lots of metal L on his face. However, before he could finish the attack, he had to dodge Davis Shinra Tensei and regroup with Jiraiya and Sasuke. Sasuke saw the entire movement with his Sharingan and snarled at Naruto. That speed was very close, if not faster than his own was when he used the Shunshin augmented by the Mangenkyu Sharingan. Completely forgetting about the fact that he owed Naruto his life, Sasuke's injury forced him to act as more support in the battlefield. The thought alone irked him to no end, especially when he saw Naruto approaching near Jiraiya. "You're okay, Sasuke. You know, besides the arm injury." Sasuke nodded, still not happy about the situation. "Did you see the one I just destroyed?" This time, the question was directed to Jiraiya. "We believed that all 6 of them were humans. Even the one Sasuke defeated was human. However, that one clearly was not. Now, I do not know what is going on here. Is Pain one of the 4? The one in the front looks like Yahiko, but Yahiko did not have the Rinnegan, only Nagato did and I don't see Nagato anywhere." Sasuke let go of his jealousy towards Naruto's abilities and focused his Sharingan on the 4 enemies. He still could see the same chakra pattern from before, but something was amiss, especially now that he focused more chakra to his eyes. It took a few seconds and a drop of B even came out of his right eye, but Sasuke was able to spot, even if briefly, the chakra residue reaching the 4 opponents, as if they were receiving chakra from somewhere else. As soon as the thought was processed, Sasuke's eyebrows rose in surprise. "I don't believe Pain is among them." Naruto and Jiraiya turned to see what Sasuke was talking about, as his Mangenkyu Sharingan was spinning madly. "What are you talking about?" Jiraiya asked, as he observed the 4 opponents. The Sharingan's only function is to help the user in battle, nothing more nothing less. For other users, the Rinnegan and the Byakugan are much more useful, being able to see chakra. I had to focus a lot of chakra just to see it, but it is there. Directly above all 4 of them, I can see a faint trace of chakra coming from another direction. It seems that these 4 are being controlled by someone from afar. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the notion. The way they moved has indeed stuck out as odd as he had never seen such teamwork even from the most disciplined teams that Konoha produced. Not even the Ino Shika Cho team was able to move as coordinated. Apparently, Deva Path had heard their conversation. Sharingan, so it took another Dujutsu to uncover my secret. I do wonder if your brother Itachi had known this as well. It matters little as I will KU2 and capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. When Deva Path spoke, the 3 turned their focus to the enemy. However, they were soon surprised to see that one of the enemies was standing right next to a strange creature that emerged from the ground. Surrounded by dark flames, the only possible connection the team from Konoha could relate to was the pair of Rinnegan eyes. Neither of them moved from fear of not knowing what it was and what its abilities were. Suddenly, though, the creature opened its mouth and, much to their surprise, both enemies that Naruto and Sasuke dealt with, now stood before them once more, as if nothing happened. Team Gaara. While colossal fights were happening, Gaara, Yugen, Yugito and Kakashi were busy with their own foes. Kakashi and Guy were busy dealing with Kakuzu while the Ni sisters were trying their mightiest against Hiden. For a member of the Akatsuki, Hiden didn't have much to go for. The man's ability with the scythe was unparalleled and even had the agility to back it up. However, so far in battle, that was precisely the only ability he had displayed thus far. However, that alone didn't change the fact that the Ni sisters were getting less frustrated. They tried it all against him, even throwing him techniques that would reduce any human being to ash. Yet, Hiden walked off barely noticing the fact that his scorched body was slowly healing itself. That actually hurt. It didn't help that the man kept cursing him every goddamn second. Yugito was using her first tailed form while her older sister went through hand seals for some lava attack. Yugen shot Hiden a barrage of small lava-sized pebbles, however the man simply snorted and charged at them with his scythe. Yugen grabbed both her ninjato and parried the attack while signaling her sister to attack from behind while she kept Hiden busy. Their plan worked as Hiden received a nasty claw mark from behind, laced with Nibi's chakra. Yugen took the opportunity and moved to decapitate the opponent. Hiden, however, saw the attack and parried with his scythe. He attempted to attack once more, but his opponent's agility allowed him to create some distance to regroup. Damn, see, you can run all you like but it will be worthless in the end. You'll be my next S for Jashin-sama. Hiden had a sick smile on his face, enraging Yugen as she was at a loss. What do you know about this Jashin, Nisan? Yugen looked at his young sister for a while, never taking her eyes away from the enemy. No more than stories, but it's said to be an old religious practice focused purely on utter destruction and death. However, I've never faced one practitioner of the art before, so I don't know why we are unable to kill the bastard. Yugito looked at her older sister with concern. When she wasn't able to grasp something, her temper got the better of her quite easily. It was precisely this reason that Reikage-sama took so long to grant her the Junin promotion, despite her incredible mastery over her bloodline. However, in this situation, Yugito was also baffled at their opponent. Her claws were laced with Nibi's chakra and once it scratched the human skin, it was worse than the worst poison out there. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.